Got to accept this. I couldn't see my mouse on my screen.
Oh, it is 25.
Right, are we ready to start, guys?
Yeah, I think we are pretty much there.
Brilliant. Okay, right. So I think for this week, the aim was to just go through some of the rigging, you know, looking at a laser, how do you put one together, how do you take one apart, etc. So I think we're going to kick off with a video first of all, and then the guys in the room are going to go through some of the main points with the bits they've got in the room. So if you just bear with, I will get this on the screen.
So by having your boat set up well, you can rig and de-rig very quickly. Unless I'm traveling, I don't put my foils in foil bags, as it can damage the foils over a long-term basis if they're put in there when they're wet. So as long as you're not moving your boat, you might as well leave your foils out of the bag in a nice, safe place. I also make sure I roll my sail nice and tightly and leave it on the deck in a place where I know it's not going to get crushed by the cover or anything else. So let's go and rig my laser. Firstly, put the mast together and make sure that the arrow is pointing between the two rivets on the carbon top section. So grabbing my sail, then next is to put the sail onto the mast. That's pretty self-explanatory. You slide it on and all the way down to the bottom. So rigging up on the floor is just quite nice and easy, as long as there's not much sand around. Just means you can rig everything up without it being flapping in the wind when it's on the boat. So I put a kicker on first. Then go and put my burgee on. And I put it on the front of the mast. So the pressure of the sail is pinning the burgee into the mast and stopping it falling down the sail. So now just putting my clew strap on. And then I next do my elastic, so I cross it underneath the boom here so it doesn't interfere with the sail. Next, I get my other bit of my outhaul through there, through this block here. And I just loop it around the end of the boom like this. So it's kind of like a quick release system. So And then whilst it's on the floor, just tie a slip knot in there to stop it coming undone. But now you're just ready to pick up the rig and put it in and rig the outhaul. So for this outhaul, it's also important to make sure that it's not tangled. Also, I like to have this, twist this block so the outhaul goes kind of underneath the boom. So effectively, it doesn't get in the way of the sail when you're tacking either side. So next up, we got the downhaul. So we'll just quickly do that. So I have my downhaul, so it's on the starboard side. Put this bit through here, through the block. So the downhaul's on the starboard side for me because it means that when you get to the windward mark, you can easily release it as the control that's closest to you. So once I've got my bottom block here, put it through, and it's all ready to go. Cool. Right, so I don't use a fixed rudder, so my tiller and tiller extension and rudder is all in one. So I'm ready to just slide it under here. So the other thing to think about is the tiller extension and the universal joint. So if you store the tiller extension back on itself like this, it'll gain a memory where when you drop it while sailing, it will immediately spring back into this position, which is not great when you're trying to hike out, trying to steer the boat. By keeping this UJ neutral as possible, you can hopefully give it a memory where it stands up straight, or even better yet, stays forward when you drop it. So therefore, if I did drop it today, it would just fall straight back into my lap, rather than springing back all the way and causing quite a few issues back here. So picking up the sail is pretty easy. I just grab it around the balance point, should be pretty light. Make sure that you can get some wind under it so you can see sails filling, makes it a bit easier. And then you can literally just put it up like this. And then make sure that it's very gentle on the way down. Don't let it slam down, else you can damage your boat. So just to make it a bit quiet, I'm just going to put the main sheet on so it doesn't flap in the wind. Cool, so we'll do the downhaul first. So I'm running an 8-to-1 purchase system here, so it makes it really easy with a nice new Mark II standard sail. Makes it really easy to adjust whilst you're hiking and in windy weather. So once you've put the rope through the cleats on your base unit, you want to think about a handle. Now, you can either tie a nice loop to make it like that, but I actually prefer an actual physical big bit of rope you can pull. So to do that, I tie a slip knot, and then I put my 2 fingers through here like this, grab this end, pull it through, 2 fingers through, and you effectively repeat this process all the way up until you run out of rope. When you get to the end, just pull the one end through, and you have a nice handle to grab. Once you get in from the day sailing, simply grab that, and it all comes out. Simple, effective, and easy. I have got the downhaul on the starboard side. mainly because when you get to windle mark and you're looking to release this control on starboard, the control is easily reachable on that starboard side. If it was on the other side, on this port side, you'd have to reach further in and it could hinder your performance ever so slightly. Okay, so my downhaul's ready to go. So now I'm going to do the outhaul. So firstly, just removing that slip knot. And then threading it through my compass and watch assembly here. Through the cleats. And now I'm just going to tie a rope handle off here. So tie a slip knot. There we go. We've got a nice handle to grab, and it lets off to the desired point. So on my sail, I've got a few telltales here. They come with the sail, and there's actually a spot marked on every sail sold, which is a small X, which tells you where you should put these telltales. And generally, I actually think they're in pretty much the perfect position. So these telltales just tell me what the trim of the sail is doing when I'm out sailing, and help me to trim the sail more efficiently. So it's also important to make sure the top of your sail is aligned with the bottom of your sail. So when you put the sail on in the first place, and preferably before you put the rig up, just have a look and make sure that the sail is lined up properly. Once the sail's up, you can do it just by looking up the mast and having a look at the crease, which runs all the way up to the top of the mast. That's it. I'm ready to go, basically. Laser's pretty simple, so that's all you need to do.
So, okay. Can you guys see, we're back on the presentation. Can you see the laser rig?
Yep.
Yeah, great. Right. So I believe in the room, you guys have got a sail rigged, Scott. So is someone going to take us through that?
I am indeed. I'm going to look over to the other side of the room.
Yep.
I'll look at Wes as well. He's joined us, so he might as well use his skills.
Yeah.
So,
Skill be open the door.
yeah. This is now for a moment.
Okay.
Turn that one.
Yeah.
And I'll use one of my phone.
Yeah.
Should we bring it? You go first.
That's a big one.
It's not his big line on the beach. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do this. We can see. You probably just go. You got the camera. Yeah. I'll turn my camera off. So much as Sam, isn't it? Was demonstrating. You've got this is as he rigged it on the floor. So we've got just to run through the basic points again. We've got our boom. Obviously, that's the mast, so that bit points upwards. It's in two sections, so we've already joined together. And to stop the boom falling off, we've got our kicker or kicking strap or vane. Come on, feel free to walk around, guys. You know, I think it's just get where you can see and where it's easy. And then he was talking about his outhaul and downhaul, wasn't he? So the downhaul is this piece of rope here. Now I've got this one rigged on the left-hand side. He had it rigged on the right. So it was this way up. So the downhaul pulls the sail down. It hauls it down. So put it down this way. And the outhaul, funny enough, just simply doesn't the tin, it pulls the sail out. So you've got the adjustments. Now they are very crucial adjustments. These three are your main three adjustments on any sail, really, because you're adjusting
Howard,
the change
and
of the
Harry,
shape
sorry,
of the sail
we can't see anything.
We pop it up on the table, please. We can probably then get some air into it. And you can see that's it. So you can see the shape of the sail now. You might hold that up at that angle there. Well, which is a full
Giving that to the shortest
I
person in the
know.
room.
So the downhaul will come down to the boat and down to those cleats that we had rigged. Now watch what happens. So at the
We
moment,
can just see your face.
Release the kicking straps. The mast has gone straight. Did you see?
Can you hear, Tolman?
Yeah, flip the camera. We can just see you. We can't see the sail. That's it. Right.
Right. So when we pull down the downhaul, watch what happens to the sail. It's gone really tight at the front. Now, obviously there's no windy here. So with a good gust of wind in that sail, it won't look as horrible as that. It won't look creased because the wind will push that open. But what you're doing, if you see you've got a belly of the sail, yeah, we're flattening that belly, aren't we? So it's now gone to a much stiffer board type sail. So what's going to happen there is, if we've got wind comes in, hits the sail, comes up out off the back edge of the sail, which is called the leach. It works exactly the same as the wing of an aircraft. Exactly. So the air flowing underneath it will flow faster than the air flowing inside it, because it's got further to go. So it will accelerate off. And that's what gives you lift and drive. So if you're pointing this way, the belly of your sail like this, the air is coming around this side of the sail and pushing you, because it's faster than this side, pushing up this way, okay? And then you've got various things that then try to push you back that way, and center plates and all these sort of things that try and then keep you straight. So what we're trying to do is adjust the shape of that wing dependent on the breeze that we've got. If we've got a light air, then we want as much belly in the sail to catch as much air as we can and to drive us forwards. So we release, in light airs, you release the kicker, you release this, and then the outhaul, which is probably a bit tight at the minute. I've just had to, because we haven't got any cleats on them here. So we release the outhaul. So come to, no wind to do it. There we go. Now you see it's just dropped away from the boom. So we've got more belly in as well, okay? Now imagine now we've suddenly got a lot of wind, all that air full of sail, you're going to be hanging out this boat and trying to keep it upright for all your might. So what we do is we use these controls to help depower the sail, flatten it off. So the first thing we can do is we can put a bit of downhaul on, that flattens it there. We've got the outhaul. So again, watch the difference in this one now. This is a big one. Can you see that coming tight to what it was there? Yeah, a lot of change in the sail. So that's our outhaul back on. And with the laser, you kind of want it so that when the wind's in it, you can get your hand sideways on. For most adults on a big sail, you get your hand in here sideways on for an average breeze, isn't it? If it's really honking and flatten it off. If it's really light, a bit more. But that's your rule of thumb. So let's just tie that one off there. And then the big one, the big adjustment is your kicker. As my son always says, if you're not trying to break this boom in half, you haven't got enough on. So watch what happens when we put the kicker on. We've got a nice lot of purchase.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering to do.
Yeah, would you do that?
Yeah.
Keep it nice and steady. Right, so pull the kicker on. The boom is coming down towards waist. The leach is getting tighter. Yeah. And look at the mast as well.
Yeah.
You see the mast bend?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Now we give it some. And we give it some more. Yeah? We bended the boom? Yes. Yeah. But look at the sail. Look what's happening with that mast. Can you see it? Can you see the bend? It's enormous. So what we've done now is you can see the creases here completely flattened off pretty much all the sail apart from here. So we really depowered that sail to give us stability going forwards and give us drive through the waves. Now what the good guys do is they're always adjusting this, because you've got to remember what happens with that wind. It's never, ever, ever the same from one second to the next. It'll change direction, it'll change pressure, and it'll then the next second it'll do it again. So it's continuously moving. So when you get the hang of all this, to trim this sail, which is what we call it, trimming it, getting the maximum out of it, the maximum power out of it for the wind conditions and your body weight that you can hold is crucial, and it's very difficult to do. Now I'm missing some buttons. We have, you see these pockets on the sails, but there's one in the top there. Alex is running the radial sail for the lightweight for the weekend. So we have the buttons here. So that will stop this sail curling. You see it's curling up around here. So that will stiffen that edge much better, give it a much better shape. So I didn't know I saw the top one. So that will help power up the ledge. So what we're trying to do is, as wind comes into the sail, it's not to trap it, but it's to accelerate it. So the key thing that most people do is they ram all this stuff on in no wind and wonder why they're not going forwards, because they've got the wind coming into it, but just can't get out. So it's all about this, I call it the exhaust of the air off the back edge of that sail. So it's the air coming off of the sail. If it's coming off fast and free, then you've got good exhaust, and then more air can come in and more air can leave it, and all that continues to give you drive and give you lift as you carry through. So, and you mentioned the telltales. So what these will do is give you a clue as to how close to the wind you're sailing. Do you remember we looked at the no-go zone and the go zone? So you're sailing along the edge of the no-go zone on this. Anybody want to say what tack would be on if we're going that way, the wind coming here? You remember? So the wind is coming over the left-hand side. It's a bit difficult. Wind's coming over the left-hand side of the boat. Port tack, yeah. So we're on a port tack. We're going forwards. Here's the clue. Red. Yeah. No port left. And if these telltales are flying pretty much horizontally or just flicking up, then you're about as close to the wind as you can get. The other key is to look at the lap of the sail here. This is the lap. And if you can see the wind trying to push it backwards here, you're pinching a bit, as we call it. You're pushing it to perhaps a little bit too far into the no-go zone. Now you might be doing that to give you a little bit of help in a heavier air. I do it a lot, and that will help depower the sail, but also it will stall it because it's stopping that flow. So you've got to be careful you don't stall the sail out. Just the same as an aircraft trying to climb too high, it stalls and it will come back down again. If these telltales are pointing downwards, then you're either not close enough to the wind, or you haven't got enough main sheet on. Yep. So if you let your main sheet out, these will come back up, and you'd have yourself trimmed. The main sheet on the laser, you can see it comes to the back, and it's on this traveller system. It pointed here. It's this rope system that runs across from one side of the boat to another, so that forms a triangle. And then the pulley, there's a pulley on that, just runs across it. So when you've got breeze on, you want to get the block on the top of the boom and the block at the bottom, two pulleys, touch. That's your, in other words, a maxed out. You can't pull any more on because you've got two things locked to lock. In most breezes. In a little bit of light air, you want a little bit more off. And again, in the heavy air, because you just won't go hold it, you can get a little bit off perhaps. So this boom will be right in the corner of the boat, and the boom would almost be touching the boat. And with the board kicker on, it's a bit difficult getting underneath it. So you can see, so if we straighten these out, as they would do with the sail battens in, you can see the shape of the sail. This is a bit of an old one, it's a bit blown out, to be honest. So it's just think of it like that wing and how much power have you got. You do see a lot of the youngsters going out with the booms of the boat up in the air at the back. Doesn't put enough kicker on. Never put enough kicker on, especially on the beavers. Awful for it. And you look at their sail, and they've got a big twist on this. So this is sagged and pushing so much power. And then what's happening actually is the air's now starting to come up the sail and coming out the top. And all that's doing is pushing them over. So what they do is they let more sail out, front flaps, and they let more sail out, front, and they're just not going anywhere. Actually, what they did is they yanked on that kicking strap, pulled the boom down to the deck and pulled the sail in, pointed the boat up to where they want to go and leant and piped out. They'll find they'll actually do a lot better, go a lot faster, and have a lot more drive because they're using the sail as it's designed to go. Does that make sense? It's a quick intro, really quick intro. Let me release everything off again and we can show you. So I've absolutely pulled on that kicker strap. When you're on the boat, you'd probably even give it a little bit more. Lift up out of the cleat. Mast straightens up. So when we go around our top mark, so this is going upwind, when we go around our top mark, now what we want to do is the sail is going to change shape completely. Because let's imagine we're going that way, okay? So sail's upright, and we're now running with the wind coming from behind us into the sail. We don't want the sail in, we want to ease it out. And remember, as you came down onto that run, in the picture, the booms were 90 degrees to the boat, weren't they? So let's imagine our boat's pointing downwards, stern's up here, yeah, and there's the sail. Now, what we want to do actually now, because we're going slower and we don't need the drive, we don't need lift so much, what we need now is power forwards. We can have a bigger sail area, we can have a belly up. So as you go on the top mark, you let the kicker off, straightens the mast up, that'll bring it forwards, okay? So we're going, leaning it forwards. You can ease the downhaul off. Oh, that's the outhaul, sorry. Ease the outhaul a little bit. And that will give a bit more belly in the sail. And then we can ease the downhaul off a bit, and that will push the sail up the mast a little bit. So now we've got a really big balloon sail, okay? And it's running before you. So we've got all the wind. And now what is happening, of course, is the wind is hitting the sails this way. It's not acting like a wing in an aeroplane. It's acting like you used to perhaps ride your bicycle with your dad's golf umbrella out front. It's pulling you along, and it's hitting the air. It's hitting it, and actually, it is going to shoot up out the top and out the sides, and that will give you. It'll be pushing you forwards, which is, of course, where you want to go, isn't it? So if you can imagine, so the rig's trying to fall over the front of the boat, which is then accelerating the boat underneath it because it's all rigid, hopefully. So it's all dynamics. It's logical, really, if you think about it, but it's actually trying to put it into practice. And it's so much easier if you can show what's happening. And of course, you then got things like waves to play with and all sorts. You start surfing and playing about and looking at other boats. And again, you're continuously, you never sit dead downwind. Again, as you see, these are the youngsters do this because they're not that experienced yet. But they sit there and they're going downwind. They've got to be looking about, they've got to be adjusting the sail, they've got to be finding where's the breeze, because the breeze is still doing this. It's still doing this behind you, and it's still pushing and coming and pushing and going, and it's still changing. And what you've got to do is keep this, if you've got the right trim of the sail, you've got to keep that square to that wind all the time. And that will mean moving the rudder and playing with the waves and doing this. You talks about it sailing downhill, because your boat is like this, because it's being pushed forwards all the time. And with waves, you are actually looking like you're going downhill all the way. And if you watch Ben sailing the 2012 Olympics in his fin at Weymouth, he's just doing this the whole way. But then they're also pumping the sail because they're allowed to. And you watch him, it's just phenomenal work he's doing in the boat. He doesn't sit still watching you go downwind. Yeah. Have I got that right, Liz?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'd just reiterate, as Howard says, once you are going downwind, if you're the boat behind, you're in a position where you can overtake somebody. So, as Howard said, you don't just sit back and take it easy. The boat in front, if you're directly behind him, you're going to disturb his wind, so you've got more chance of getting past. So even though someone else is first round the mark, that's your time to attack and get back at them.
As you can see the size of the thing, if you imagine standing with it upright, with the wind blowing there, and you stand the other side of it, it's going to take all the air away. It's like standing in the lid of a building on a windy day. It's exactly the same with the sail. And if another boat's in front of you, also trying to do the same as you, hit his wind effectively, he's going to slow down. And that's when you can, as well said, you can start attacking. And that's when the boat in front will have to start defending. And then there's all sorts of other games to play there. But but in terms of basic sail, this is quite a good way of just seeing how it all works.
Where would you move your body weight to if you're going running downwind in this scenario?
Well, running down, so if you can imagine your boat is now sailing down here, so it's pointed, it's being pushed forwards, you actually slide back to try and counterbalance that and to bring the bow up, because otherwise it would just trip over itself. If you sit forwards, the bow will suddenly hit the back of a wave and catapult you over the front, as you see us do quite regularly in the hurricanes. That leeward bow goes in. And it's so you weight back. The opposite is when you're going upwind, you've got everything strapped in you, and you're now. Do you remember? I think Chris mentioned it last week about the drag on the transom. So if you're sitting too far back, you're pushing the back of the boat into the water. And look at the shape of it. It's wide, and it's about this wide a lays at the back and flat. The bow is like this, and pointed. Putting that into the water against think of that drag, and putting the back of the water, all that area, all that surface area is slowing you down. So you sit right up here. I think you could probably sit about here, probably on a laser, isn't it? Yeah, between the kicker and the main sheet, I guess. You're sitting here with your main sheet here, and your tiller, or your main sheet in the cleat. It's easy if it's a windy day, or playing your main sheet, continually trimming that sail and steering the boat with the tiller extension in front of you. And you want to be sitting nice and forward, keeping the nose in. And again, it's working waves upwind as well. Waves are another whole set of dynamics, but we'll do that later on. So again, just a quick recap then. Outhaul, flattens, yeah, flattens the back of the sail and tightens the leech. Downhaul tightens the luff of the sail, that's the front edge of the sail, and also moves. There's a thing called the draft of a sail that can touch. So where the maximum belly is, so the table here, let's say it's here. The maximum belly of the sail is the draft. It's the deepest draft we've got. And what we're doing is effectively, by pulling on the down blue, moving that draft forwards. Can you see? So the belly is coming forwards and it's flattening the whole thing off. So it's bringing the draft further forwards, and again, in the right sort of place for your balance. So you've got that, and then kicker, which is the bigger. Come over that again. Well, what you tend to do is, so if you've got to your top mark, let's say you're bearing off downwind, first thing I would do is ping the kicker off, because it will help you steer. It'll get the boom up higher. So as you bear away, of course, the boat can lean. If the end of that boom hits the water, it's going to drag, just pulls you over. So let the kicker off, boom comes higher, easy to control, steer the boat downwind. Once you've got it downwind and balanced, center plate up a little bit, and then you can adjust outhaul and release the tension in the halliards. And as you go around the bottom mark, as you're approaching it, you start to pull these on, and maybe a little bit of kicker. And as you round the mark, just as you go around, you get an almighty pull. Again, depending on the breeze. If it's a false one, you won't. Yeah. I mean, literally, watch that mast bend. It's a proper old banana, isn't it? And the boom is now starting to bend quite nicely. You won't break it. But look how flat it is. And now you're ready to go upwind with drive. So as you come around the mark, you drive off. You're not dropping off to leeward. You're not giving away places. We'll cover all of that, but you know, it's about giving away the least ground.
So is this a sail from a laser?
Yes, it's exactly. You've just seen the young lad rig there, only a little bit older, quite a lot older. But it's the same control systems. The laser now comes with this called this XD kit, which gives you an awful lot. Used to, you know, the Pico, you know, the kickers a Pico got. That's what we used to have in the laser. You pulled it on once, you never got on again. And again, these used to be just one-on-one purchases, not all these lovely pulleys. Never had that luxury. Boom. Okay. Any questions?
So these are all connected. These.
No. They're all individual. So this set of rope is all connected. They're all pulley together and come to this cleat. Then this one and also purple come up to the sail, and that will come down to the deck, and then back to the cleat, as the young lad showed in this video. As will the outhaul. That will go the other side of the mast down to the other cleat and back here. Okay. And as you see, you've got a lot of rope, and just as Sam said, you can get rid of it all. I don't do it quite as flash as him, but it's really good. But just getting rid of length of rope. His way is probably quite good actually. But I do this all the time. Again, because trying to find a thin piece of rope that's flicking around your boat is very difficult. Finding a heavier, weightier piece is much easier. And you can also, as he's done it in one line, what you can do, I quite often do, oops, is then come through and then tie it back up to that one. So you can tie it up there. Now you've got a nice handle. And it's a lot more comfortable when your hands are cold rather than a thin piece of rope. You get that and you can pull quite happily. And as he says, when you come ashore, you just undo the first one. And pull. Not that one, undo that one. I thought I'd pull, and it just won't drop out. And that gets rid of your length of rope lying around, so it's quite a useful trick, that.
On the kicking strap for the laser, I don't know if it's the same in the Picos or Fevers, I've got a length of line after the loop, so I actually attach that to the centerboard. So there's always an arm's length to reach that point. Yeah, because if it goes over the side to lure, you've got no way of really getting to it. So you've always got.
It's a really good idea, though. Not nice. It's what fucking happens. You can go around and it does that, and you're back here because you're now going downwind. You lean forward and you focus. So that's a great idea. That just to. But all these little tuning tricks that you learn over a long time, and you just see other people. You look at the way boats are rigged and see what other people do. And it's really good once you understand the principles of it. So just think, wing of airplane, flow of sail, flow of air over sail. Have a look at, if it looks like it's got air running over it, then chances are it's probably half okay. But just remember, kicker. This is the most important control on a dinghy, certainly. On a yacht, not so much. But on a dinghy, the most important control, because it will completely and utterly depower your sail. You can't do it with your main sheet. But Sandhopper is slightly different because we've got a much more powerful block system at the back of the boom, and that acts almost like a kicker. And this just stops the boom falling off, really. But it's a lot different. But again, that's a yacht scenario. And in the dinghy, this is the most important. If you see the kids going out, if it's anything over a force 3, tell them kicker, 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 pull it on, get it on, upwind, upwind, downwind, off, upwind, on. And not just on, pull it. Really pull it. You won't break it, and you won't break the boat. They certainly won't. But that's where I certainly see the most errors made with the youngsters. It's get that kicker on. So it'll just keep you driving. Yeah, in the right air.
Does it give you like rudders in the direction? Because if you put the rudder straight, but how's the wind going from a certain area? Is it pushing you that way as well?
What, the rudder? The rudder is literally just there steering you. It works with the centre plates. You've got two in, so they're like a bit of stabiliser, but they're also stopping the boat being blown sideways. You try to go upwind and you lift the centre plate up, it just does that. So again, working like a wing of an airplane, and if you look at them, they're shaped that way, under the water. So with water flow rather than airflow, it's doing the same as the sail is doing, only there's no adjustments, it's a fixed blade. And the rudder will do that to an extent, but they're much smaller. So the idea is you can move them easier. If they were big rudders, it would be a lot heavier to move. It would stay in a straight line easier, but you won't go around corners very well. So that's stopping you going sideways. So as I was saying earlier, there's lots of forces doing this, there's forces doing that, there's forces doing that, and it's just controlling them all.
So the center plate allows twist, which is how you turn, but doesn't allow drift.
It won't allow the side. Yeah, it steers through the water because it's a nice wing and it's a nice foil shape.
So it can turn.
And as the lad said, Sam said, keep them out. Although we always keep them in foil bags, don't we? Keep them out the foil bags. It's a bit like my Sandhopper sails. They only live in their sail bags when they're in my garage. In the Sandhopper, they're loosely rolled on the floor so they can dry. Because you tightly roll these things when they're sopping wet. You put them in a sopping wet bag because it's been kicking around the bottom of your boat, and you leave them at the front of your boat and you walk away from it, or row away from it, and they sit there for the rest of the week soaking wet or just rot. So I leave them loosely rolled on the floor, and it's nice and easy as well. You haven't got to stuff them in the sail bags. So
You just leave them out there like a week.
yeah, they're quite happy. Yeah.
Any adult effectively wreck that on their own, launch it on their own.
Yeah, youngsters will.
Get the trailer, but that
Yeah.
size you can build.
Oh yeah. It looks huge in here. I can't believe how big it looks. No, you can literally pick it up from here. You can
It's a
pick
bit
it up.
like when you look at a telly.
You can pick it up and
and
lift
get
it.
it home.
It's a bit heavy,
You
but
realise how big it is. You know.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. In the shop, it looks really small.
In this room, it just
It's actually enormous.
terrifyingly big.
I know.
I do find
Yeah.
Sam is a great sailor. He sails every day. He's part of the GBL squad. I've tried putting it up with the boom on the way he did it with the kicker. And when you've got a breeze blowing, you've got the boom flapping around as well. It's not easy. So I would recommend putting it up without the boom on, and then you put the boom on after. It's easier.
I mean, he's down at Weymouth there, the Sailing Academy. They've got a beautifully block paved area that's about 4 square miles, and it's dry. We've got shingle and sand, and what you don't want on these things is sand, particularly at the bottom here. You can see how this one has had years of wear because it goes into a slot on the boat. And if this has got sand on it, as you put it into the slot on the boat, that sand is just going to grind away at this, but more importantly, grind away at the gel coat at the bottom of your boat. So you've got to just do this, make sure there's no shingle. Up where the lasers are, we've got the best with the dinghy part, and it's quite nice stones. And I de-rig the boat like this sometimes, but as Wes says, lifting that up when there's no, because you just get a bit of power in the sail. It's off.
Whereas without, you haven't got some.
Yeah, it's just a cloth.
Turns and twists.
You have got to play about with the boom on your shoulder and try and grab hold of the sail, and then it falls off, then it whacks in the head, and there's techniques. But, you give it get to wash down once a year. When you come in, there's plenty of hose pipes thanks to Scott around the dinghy part. Just get the salt off. The key thing, to be fair, the sails, this is called Dacron. It's pretty stuff, isn't it? It's good. They do. I mean, you spray it. You can't soak the whole thing. You just spray it out and get the worst off, because it really, unless you capsize, it really only get wet for a bit of it. The key is to wash these, your blocks, your pulleys, because they will jam with salt. So just give a good hose on those, good hose on all the pulleys, the main sheet blocks, your main sheet, your ropes as well, your sheets and lines. Get those all clean and what, the sail? Oh, lasts you forever. Yeah, it lasts you forever. It won't behave as well as it would. I mean, this, as I say, this sail is, golly, well, we bought the, when did we buy this boat? Ben was in the cadets, I can't remember, picked up in Oxford, and this was quite new. It's a bit done in now, but it's okay. But if you're going to do events, you'd want a nice new sail. The guys in the Olympic team, they'll have 3 or 4 sails a year. Probably. What are they? 300 quid?
More than that.
Oh, then?
500.
Oh, they're about 500 now. Shows how long this is up for. And of course, with the laser, there's 3 different sizes. So this is the standard rig. Then you've got the radial rig, which has the blue corners. Are they still blue or they're red now?
Yeah, you got the blue corner.
Blue
and the
corners.
window is backwards.
Oh, the window is backwards. And they are, and you have a different bottom mast as well. No, yes, different bottom mast. The bottom section is slightly shorter, so the sail's still at the top. And then you have a 4.7 rig. This is a square meterage. This is a no, that's not 3.8. Yeah. No, it's not, is it?
No.
Not 3.8 because the L rate was 5.7.
Yeah.
Anyway, the 4.7 rig is a tiny rig, and that has, because the mast, this mast section is much shorter. This mast section has pre-bend already in it, so it's already bent to allow them to get the head of the sail across, and that's nice and small. Again, for the youngsters, you know, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, 4.7 up to about 16, 17 radial, and then on for that. It's not about how tall they are, how big they are, it's their knees that will stop growing. And the RYO won't let, I think it's under 16 or 17 in a radial, no matter how big you are, because you need, and when you're hiking, you'll hurt your knees and you'll hurt them for life. And but you won't notice until you're our age. So, it's really important that they don't start hanging out trying to right a boat without their knees having fully developed. So that's quite an important point for that. But then once that, you know, if you're, where's regularly sails with the radial sail? If he's got a windy, looks like a windy regatta, they'll put the radial on. You have to stay with the same sail for the series that you're doing, so you make a decision. And if it's light, he's then cursing. But because it is all about your elevation and your leverage to try and pull it back upright. And some of the bigger guys, a bit more weight, will pull this upright easier. Smaller guys, they're a bit flightier, will find it harder. But actually, we'll go much faster. Most standard sails in the breeze can't get anywhere near it. There's radial, even though it's got less sail area. Do you remember we were saying again about depowering it? It's because it's depowered, it's more efficient, and it's working it, and of course it's a good safe. So you can definitely point it in the right direction. Okay. Feel free to shout throughout as we go. I don't know what you want to do next, Scott.
No, I think that pretty much brings us to the end of our time, really.
Yeah.
But,
Cool.
any questions, I suppose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will have questions for the rest of your lives. I still ask questions, but you will get used to how it works, you know. And it depends. If you just want to go out in your yacht and go sailing and cruising, the back end of the sails, if you haven't got the downhaul on quite as hard as it could go, it doesn't really matter because you're cruising. So it's fine. But have the sail trimmed as well as you can, because it will make your boat more efficient through the water, and it will get you from where you're going quicker and probably a bit easier. So it is an important thing to understand how they work. It doesn't really matter if it's not, but if you're racing around the cans and every inch counts, literally every inch you can find on height, every inch you can find over a wave or power. Just basically, racing is a series of mistakes, and whoever can make least mistakes will win. It's quite as simple as that. It's about making, because everybody will make mistakes, don't care how good you are. But it's about making the least.
That feel.
Yeah, this feel. There is a lot of feel in the boat, when particularly over waves. Not pushing it too high into the wind, not putting it too far away, just having that nice balance in the boat upright. I mean, last week Chris talked about having the boat upright, and I think we spoke about afterwards, some of them, about the wash. Look at your wash behind. The boat is this shape, isn't it? And the wash coming out of it comes out symmetrically. It's not the boat's over. It's not asymmetrically, which it would do, because then the boat's tipped over. All of that side of the boat you're shoving into the water. And again, do you remember the drag and the airflow and the water flow? You're shoving more friction into the water. Have the boat upright, the way it's designed, nice flat bottom, nice symmetrical wavelets off the back of your boat, and you will go as fast as you can. And of course, the game is, when it's really windy, is keeping it that way. or even when it's light airs. You know.
So the wind's like going over the south, what I'm saying, it's going faster one side than the other. Just pushing it. But does not the rudder form part of that as well? As sort of almost like squashing, do you know what I mean? To give you form, I mean, does the rudder not the rudder, sorry, the keel, does the keel not have?
Yeah, the keels will, yes, and the center, as I said, the centre plate will, yes, it will. And without those, you're just going sideways. So that gives you the drive. Yes, that keeps the boat going forwards as well.
Sort of like going like that.
Yeah,
with the wind one way, and then talking about sort of the wind pressure.
Yeah.
And the keel not wanting to move sideways in the water. It's almost
kind
of boat pushing, aren't they?
Yeah, because the wind is trying to push you. If you're on a port tack, the wind is trying to push you to the right. Yeah. So the keel will stop that happening, and therefore give you drive forwards. Yeah, and then depending on the shape and size and all the rest of it is how they operate. So yeah, the two work very much hand in hand. Yes, absolutely. And that's why, you know, when we're talking about having the dagger board or the centre plate down upwind, that's crucial because it's giving you the most drive forward you can get. If you put it up half, then you've only got half that drive forward, and the half is going to go sideways.
Because you have as big a sail as you want, but without that bit of force underneath.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. And you probably also fall over very easily. Yeah.
That's great.
Lovely. Great stuff.
Right, guys, I think we should look to wrap that up then. So big thank you to Howard and Wes for helping run today's session and having the rig there. We'll leave you guys to it. If you've got any more questions, you can carry on the conversation afterwards. But yeah, big thank you to everyone involved. Thank you for turning up and taking part. And we will run another one, same time, same place next week. So 7:30 on Thursday next week. Thank you, guys.
Is it going to be down the club again next week? Hopefully I'll be able to get down there next week. I'll have to drag my daughter with me, but I'm sure she won't mind. She'll probably be able to give me tips.
Yeah, we'll be club as well next week.
Okay, fantastic. Brilliant.
Great. Okay, guys, thanks a lot, and wish you all a good evening.